hajine, yo hajine, hayo hajine, yo hajine, aweni yo, weni yo, weni yo, weni yo, hai hey, oh weni yo, hai hey, hayo hajine, yo hajine.
Welcome back to Voices for the Earth, and today's guest is Leroy Jock Hill.
My name is Hohahis. In the language, that means he's got a long path. Leroy Hill. Most people know me as Jock. I've had that nickname since I was a kid. And people think it's because of sports, but it was actually this restaurant up our way that I used to like to go to, and my parents and my aunts and uncles, my siblings just called me Jocko. So it went from Jocko restaurant down to just Jock. So I'm pretty well known as just Jock Hill. Um, I'm Cayuga Nation Bear Clan Faith Keeper Sub Chief, and I'm the council secretary and record keeper for Grand River. So I work with the language the first half of the day every day, and most of the day I'm doing tobacco burnings um, when needed. So I work in the classroom half a day, and I'm in our community half of the day, and I'm also one of the presenters for, like, I'll do guest lectures um, to the neighboring city hall, city councils, and things about our people. Um, I speak for our council sometimes on matters of our lands, or like the water, things like that, environmental concerns, or hunting and fishing rights. So I'm kind of a spokesperson as well for the council. I'm the secretary and record keeper for the council at Grand River. So when the wampums get to come out, I'm usually the one gets them out, and I'm usually the one presents with them. I'm present with them when we get them out. So sometimes we'll just get them out for the school kids, and we'll talk to them about the messages in those wampums. So I'm the secretary and record keeper for the council. I'm a faith keeper, and I'm a sub chief for Cayuga Nation, and I do a lot of the work with our leadership. So I work with our chiefs and clan mothers here and there through the week. One of the things we're busy with right now is our new identification card. So I'm one of the approvers, and I assist with Indian names quite a bit, like, and how to write them and translate them. And sometimes they have them written in English, so then I have to come up with it in one of the languages. So I work on any given day. I'm working with at least 3 of our languages, and my students I teach in the morning, they're learning pretty well 3 languages at any given day. So when they first come, they're learning maybe Cayuga language. And then some of them I know have a background with Onondaga language, and I'm actually more comfortable with Onondaga language than anything. So speak Onondaga language, and then I get them going on Mohawk language. Some things, especially with this condolence coming up in Tonawanda, that a lot of that condolence material and the songs and the things we put through for that ceremony, it's largely Mohawk language. So that's that's some of what I do. I don't like to say I'm fluent. I'm functional in 3 of our languages comfortably. So Cayuga, Onondaga, and Mohawk. So I work with those languages all the time, and I have students that are learning the languages that will come and sit with me, and we'll just converse. And that's part of my, I guess, some part of my week as well. So I do medicine for people too. So I do doctor work, so you might say, in the Haudenosaunee style. And I connect people also with, if they need herbal remedies, or if they need ceremonying of some kind, or if they need to see somebody that is gifted to see. Yeah, that's stuff that is dealt with if it comes up. I'm one of the principal ones that have been trained in this condolence ceremony stuff, so I'm busy with that right now. And it's a time to really teach and learn. So that's kind of my primary focus this past 6 weeks. Thank you.
And so, in what setting were you able to learn all this knowledge from the elders?
When I was around 13 years old, I would guess, I can remember being only semi-functional in our languages, and I grew up around our languages, so I kind of got inspired to start learning. And that took me around all of our elders, and we had a lot of elders back then, men and women. And I learned artwork because one of the elders done artwork. So I connected with him and his grandchildren, Chief Thomas. And that's where I learned artwork. And learning artwork probably saved my life back then because it inspired me to learn what I didn't know, which is the stories of our people. So I went on a path of learning the story of our people, and I was fascinated with that, and I still am. So I went from kind of going down that rabbit hole of wanting to know all that I could of stories of our people, and uh, and then to try to interpret that into artwork. So that carried me for decades, and even now, like it's still something, and it just feeds something in the soul. So doing artwork and trying to reveal the stories of the past in art, and it helps you to remind yourself of teachings and elders what they taught you. So, um, one of the elders in my family lived just walking distance, and she could speak, I think, all the languages. So she told me, she says, "You should visit them elders and see where your area of the Creator has gifted you some way, and you'll find out your gift. It's just as the age you're at, your voice is changing, and she said, try to discipline yourself, get up early, and try to get out there and help elders and visit and try and learn." She says, if you lose your direction and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, start learning and just keep learning, and it'll take you the rest of your life. You'll figure it out. So make your life a learning experience all the way, and don't ever think you know everything. So that put me on a path with elders, and some of them elders were really, really well trained, like herbalists you'd call today. They knew medicine. Enoquatrine That's what you say, enoquatrine. They know medicines. So my sister Wendy and I, we visited one of the older ladies. It was walking distance from our house. And she trained us about herbal remedies and medicines and things like that. And my sister Wendy could really retain that better than I, but I retained quite a bit. But it seemed I could tell she was gifted with that. Like I knew that at a teenage age that that was her area of gift, and I picked some of that up. But I feel like mine was more in remembering things. I start to remember our ceremonies, our songs, and our speaking, and that kind of stuff there, more about our treaties and things like that and laws, a great law. Around that time there, we still had a speaker that would tell that great law in a gathering. And it was just local, but he would do it. And I remember sitting there and only catching some of it when he was just speaking in the language. So the aunt that I had, her and another lady said, let's go over here, whoever wants understanding what he said this morning. So we all went outside, we had lunch, grabbed lunch, and we went and sat under this big oak tree, and she explained to us, and I was fascinated. And I started turning what she was saying, into artwork. Like I wanted to reveal that story I had heard. So that's how I kind of got started um, in my learning. And then I realized that I start having this gift. I could remember lots of things, like those really in-depth messages. So by the time I was in my 20s, I was a Cayuga speaker, and I was pretty sure I could speak that great law to the extent that I learned it at that time. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm one of the speakers of Cayuga, the the good teachings they call it, and the prophecies, and also our laws, our Gayan Shragoa, the great law of peace. I think I can tell our treaties too. We should do that sometimes because I learned how, I was trained how to tell those, and we don't really do that. So that's something on my to-do list somehow to so that I guess I bring it out to the extent I'm able, so that we have that knowledge of our treaties and our languages, maybe even just record it.
What knowledge were you able to learn from the elders about the environment?
So again, it's kind of interwoven with our stories of our people, and I can remember learning a little bit about the start of time. Just little blippets you would learn in my area of like interaction with my family and my neighbors and elders and stuff like that. And I kind of got inspired. I want to learn how did Earth life begin. I actually wanted to reveal that in the art, right? I wanted to carve and create that. So I visited around different elders and see what they know, and they all give me something. And there was really none of them would say, "Okay, here it is, A to Z. Here you go." It wasn't like that. They would say, in the beginning, the earth and waters, they were created and to enhance our life and make it easier. And the rivers flowed two directions. So if you want to go towards the sunrise, you come on this side of the bank and follow that water. It would take you there. Then you cross over to the other side of the river, and the current went back the other way. So all of the waters were flowing two currents. They were flowing like east on one side and west on the other side. So you hear stories like that and start to think about water, and then they're like, well, that's the veins of Mother Earth. O Jinhyat Dadenyo. Jinhyat Dadenyo is veins. So you start to get these teachings, and you're like, okay, so the water is the veins of Mother Earth. And like you start kind of connecting, and you're like, well, okay, our Thanksgiving address, it sort of gives us a reminder of our place in the world. So Mother Earth, why is she our mother? Okay, that ties us back to the start of time. Mother Earth, that's all of our mother. So we got to respect her. So just little things like that, where I got these little blippets of teaching, I would call it, from elders that I was around. Um, then about being responsible for ourselves and looking after our areas. So that I got I grew up along the river, so I was always outside. We didn't really have like how it is today, all these televisions and things. In fact, in my day, when we were kids, the TVs had squiggly lines on there, and on a good night, you might see a good channel and a good picture of something or hockey or something. So most of our time was spent outdoors, and we farmed. So I learned a lot environmental knowledge from farming, and then we lived near the river, so we would fish, and this time of the year we'd be trapping. Springtime when the ice goes out, we set traps and we trap, and that was part of our income was those traps and the hides. And so I fished and I trapped and I hunted and we farmed. That was my childhood. So from that experience, I always had knowledge of do's and don'ts, I guess you'd say, with Mother Earth and the waters and things like that. So we swam in the river, and it was a lot clearer when I was a kid. So I noticed the river got dirty in my lifetime, like just something I noticed. You could see the bottom quite a bit. Most of the river in our area, you could see the bottom, and now you can't even see that there's a bottom. So that's something I experienced in my time. And I had uncles and aunts. My parents, of course, they were farmers. So I think I would say I learned a lot of the um, practical knowledge from that. And then I visited relatives and neighbors that I knew, like say maybe they knew herbal remedies or plants and how to get them, what they're for, and how to look after them. So then I learned. I had one elder, and he says, the Creator has given us something every season to go out and harvest and look for. And then he says, this time of the year, the maple is the first thing, right? The sap, collect that sap and turn it into syrups and sugars. After that, the things that grow wild are free. So wild onions, there's wild onions, wild leeks, um, there's wild asparagus, and there's these roots we eat up our way. They're kind of they're kind of strong, like spice, pepper roots. So I started hanging out with elders who know how to collect them and how to get that in you. And they say that's how you renew yourself in the spring is you got to eat some of those things you don't like to eat. And I didn't like to eat those things back then, but I sort of made myself, and I groomed myself to start liking the taste of that, because that's how they tune their bodies up. They say that'll fix you up. It's like a boost in the spring to renew. So that's kind of environmental knowledge as well, like interactions every season with something new coming. But then there's rules. You don't take all. You leave some. You leave some for others, not just humans, but there's birds and there's animals, even right down to the insects. So there's environmental practices like that that come with growing up. So pretty soon the berries, I notice already out here, the strawberries are flowering. So after you get done this season of maple, and then the roots and the onions and the leeks and things, then the berries are going to come on, and it's planting season. Planting season, and then there's practices, best practices for that as well too. So our ancestors had ancestral knowledge that still exists to a degree. It's not as strong as it once was, that knowledge, and that's something that I'm working on, is trying to enhance that and then re-strengthen and revitalize, I guess you'd say, that ancestral knowledge and environmental practice, farming, fishing, hunting. They had rules and they had processes. They had do's and don'ts. So I hope that explained that question, huh?
So I know earlier you mentioned about knowing like different prophecies. Is there any that we have that talk about climate change?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And like I say, I'm one of the ones that our elders trained to recite that teaching, the teachings and the prophecies that are in the Great Law of Peace and the Cayuga, the good teachings. So they both kind of come together with the way things that is passed down in our records. So the wampum belts and all that, they have those things. I would say the messages are embedded in those beads. So um, it talk about the days to come a lot, and they say that when the message come, everything was wealthy. The knowledge was wealthy. That means everybody had were full of knowledge, and the ones coming later may not quite be that way. That's what it kind of tell us in our teachings and our songs and all that. That but we'll still follow the path laid out. That's what it says. So um, the prophecy talk about us sort of weakening as a species. To me, so humans are gonna get weaker, and the earth is gonna change. So it's kind of gonna go hand in hand. Our society ain't as strong in values and morals and things like that, and laws and law abiding and looking after ourselves. See, our grandparents were a little more disciplined on those things. They were a little more fixed in their ways about things. So that was predicted as foretold, and they say there's going to be world wars, and those conflicts are going to affect our system as well, and that not having one mind is going to be something we're going to struggle with. It's going to be a stress we have, and as that happening to our leadership system, men and women, and then the ceremonial leaders, then the people and the children will suffer, and they'll also try to fix it and right it. So there's kind of some prophecy there about where we're walking, and the it talk about the environment and say that you're gonna notice that as the earth begins to change, you're gonna notice things. So all of a sudden, it's getting warmer than it used to be. That's one of the things that sticks out to me where we're walking. It's getting warmer. I noticed that the ground has not really been freezing like it used to. Because I when I tap trees and that, I use a tractor, and I haven't. It's been breaking through the ground like it's not frozen when you go back, and it used to be so froze you could drive over anything. Everything's froze. So even though we had like a foot of snow this winter, the ground didn't really freeze all winter. Barely frost at all in the ground. So the earth is warming up without us really noticing, and that's been foretold. The earth's going to warm up, and the gauge we have to watch is a partridge. So some call it a grouse. Partridge nest on the ground, and they're going to move their nests up in the trees. And that's because we don't notice it, but the earth has gotten that warm. It's not comfortable for them. So I think they're still nesting on the ground. They moved out of our area. They used to be plentiful. That used to be our chickens when we were kids. Like they were that plentiful. But then the coyotes moved in our area. Coyotes seem like they destroyed their eggs and their nesting. So we have a lot of coyotes now and no partridge where I'm from. Just the odd one you'll see. So the partridge are still on the ground the last time that we seen them. So yeah, that's one of the things we're supposed to be watching, just as a sign that Earth is warming too much. That partridge moving up into the trees now. Talk about the waters going bad, the veins of Mother Earth. You're gonna all of a sudden get murky, and you're gonna see bugs in there and snakes, and the whips are gonna try cover it. That's prophecy. Whips are gonna try cover the streams. I don't know to shelter it, or they just overgrown with it. So you can kind of see when creeks and that dry out, the whips and weeds take over. That kind of what it talks about. So you're gonna see that more. You're gonna see things like the weather. Uh, Weather is going to get where it's causing harm, and that's right where we're walking these things here. The weather patterns are changing too, and that's getting we're getting worse storms. So it's rain, whether it be rain, whether it be wind, or whether it be winter weather, or like the sun. They're all turned up to a higher dial of like strength, and it's going to start to take life. Right? That's what our prophecy talk about. The loss of language is prophecy, and when we lose our languages, we lose a bit of who we are, and our laws, our teachings, and our prophecies, our morals, everything are all interwoven with our languages. So with the loss of language, we kind of disconnect from our ancestral knowledge, I would say, and the things that our people experience, and they learn things from their experience over the generations. So I encourage everybody to learn. Do your best to learn your language and learn the concepts that are woven in that language. So um, when I was young, we used to have to go berry picking all the time. My whole neighbor, I didn't know anybody who didn't. Like everybody had to go berry picking. So when you go berry picking, we had our patches, and I'm not talking about going to a farm and berry picking. I'm talking about going in the woods. And there's several berries that come in. Like one will come in first, strawberry, and then the raspberries, the blackberries, and all of that. And the rule we had was you couldn't stay in one spot and just pick everything. You had to pick some and move on, pick some. So it would be pretty near a half a day or more activity to go picking berries, just because of our practice of harvest. So we never did clear out one patch ever. So that's like some of the environmental practice that I learned as I got older. I started realizing that that was from years of experience not to do that. So some of them berries need to fall to the ground. That's part of their renewal process. So you got to leave some for the birds. Like I say, even the insects got a right to some. So I mean that environmental knowledge. Um, it was all interwoven in my experience and with elders and that. And I learned something even with the guys that are carving and woodworking, that they were showing that the trees were getting sick back then. So they were starting to get more bugs in behind the bark and things, and they'd done stuff with the bark back then, whether it was medicine or make rattles, or they would use them barks even for containers, and they'd see that there was bugs in there that never used to be. So I don't remember what they call that, but it killed the elm trees up our way, right? So that's just an example that those bugs come in, and it start killing those certain species of trees. Now the prophecy says the maple is the leader of the tree, and that's going to happen to the maple. Going to start dying from the top down. And some of the elders I heard talk, they thought it was acid rain, but I don't know if it's the acid rain doing it. I think it's the environment, and what is happening in the air, and you know what I mean. Like I think it's airborne too.
Can you explain like how I know you talked about this a little bit, but explain how important knowing your language is to like being aware of the environment or like still maintaining a connection to the environment?
Yes, I think that's what makes us unique in the world. Uh, we who call ourselves Haudenosaunee, or if you say Ongwahonwe, that's the original people. What do those things mean? It has a lot of meaning. If you say you're Haudenosaunee, that means you're responsible. So you have responsibilities in this world, because our Creator gave something to the Haudenosaunee to look after and to guide us, to take care of, and the ceremonies and things that we do. the cultural practices, I would call it, seasonal practices, seasonal activities, even sports. So learning language reconnects you with all that, and the concepts in our languages sometimes are deeper than like just saying something in English, and it's hard to give somebody that. You have to learn and try your best to uncover that and discover it, and rediscover it. And then the challenge you have as well is, how do we make this relevant today? That's upon each of us as responsibility. So learn your language, you got to be able to use it. You got to use that language. So it's kind of helpful if families learn the language, or more than one family member, so you can use that language. And like, that language carries the knowledge of our past, and the cultural practices and experiences of our people, and the warnings of the future of do's and don'ts, and there's repercussions and there's consequence. So all of that is embedded with language learning. Language and culture go together. In my view, language and culture are one. You can separate, but that's just my from my learning and my journey, that the language leads you back to your culture, and the traditions and culture and the teachings are all interwoven. So it's very important to learn the language, because I think about something. I don't know which elder told me that, but he says, you see them birds in the spring right now, we're in springtime. They all have a voice, they all have a language, and they have a duty. So, first thing in the morning, there's a bird that has to sing first to start them off with their Thanksgivings. So, they say the birds are giving thanks that first hour or so of morning. That's why they're loud. That's how long it takes them to give thanks. That's what an elder told me. And at the end of the day, there's a few of them who have to close it off. So you'll hear them last couple birds at the end of the day, almost how they started the day. Some people don't even notice this, what I'm telling you. So whoever's listening, you do your best to pay attention to that. The birds are giving thanks, especially in the spring. They're especially loud. Give thanks in the morning, and they give thanks at the end of the day. And that's how we're supposed to be. Supposed to have a few words of thanks to the Creator, start the day and end the day, and hope for a good tomorrow. That's part of our being as Haudenosaunee. So even if you learn that much in the language, swajago, that means try your best to learn that much. How could I say a short Thanksgiving? Because you know what my elders told me? There's someone listening. You might not see somebody, but there's someone listening when you do that. So it's that important, and you're sincere about it. So language ties us in with so many things. Ties us in with landmarks in the areas we live in. Ties us in with our past. Ties us in with the arrival of our white brothers. How did they handle that, and the treaties and things like that, and agreements. And there's also prophecy about things to come, and it helps you to process what you're seeing. There's so much craziness in the world, and there's prophecy talks of these things. So,
How can we learn from the great law of peace how to take care of the earth?
well, one thing that kind of steps out to me is that, in just to even say nations, like in the language, I would say, "Ongyo wanjadinyo," and you hear "wanja" in there. That's the earth. So we of the earth, the various earths, which means different territorial landmarks and areas. So the Great Law right away puts this concept that we are of the earth. Ongyo wanjadinyo. So we say, "Ye nihon wanjage," that's the Six Nations, and then each nation separately. So Kanya Kyono nihon wanjoda. That's the Mohawks of that land. They're of that kind of earth. So it kind of gives you a concept right away that we're of the land. We're not disconnected from the environment. So we're of the land. And that's one of the first things that sticks out to me with the Great Law, is we're of the lands. Whatever that be, maybe it's the land where the flint is. Kanya, Kiuno. That's Mohawks. Where they're of the earth where the flint is. and Onayode. That's there. The Oneidas are where the stones stand up, and then the Onondaga, Onondagi. That means on the hill people. That's the earth. That's the land they're from. That's the kind of earth they are. The hill people, and then the Cayugas. That means the place where the canoes are. Uh, Dock Cayuga. So they also in the song for condolence it says Katagwe, and that means the mucky land. So it's all about environment. It's all about our connection and of the earth. And then the Seneca, Onondawaga, that's the mountains, the mountain people. So I think that's one of the things that sticks out to me when you say like the great law and our environment. How is it connecting us? And when the most popular symbol you see is that Five Nations belt, some called it the Hiawatha belt in English, but it's the Five Nations United belt. That's the one with the squares and the tree in the center. Now, that means the people of the five earths. So I went down the rabbit hole and I asked different elders why they thought it was that way, why we say that. And they said the Creator, once human beings start populating Earth, we needed some more help to how to coexist, and each area had to take responsibility for that area of Mother Earth. So if you're of a certain nation, you're responsible for this part of Mother Earth. You take care of her, and she take care of you, and you have ceremonial responsibilities to help re-strengthen them, the spirit powers and all that work together in that area of the earth. So those squares on there talk about responsibility to Mother Earth in that area, and then you're connected to the next one. So it's overlapping that responsibility. So if you're traveling to Mohawk country and you're over here Seneca country, you're responsible. All that land in between you look after that, and you take care of that. And you're going into someone else's land area, then you take care of their area like you would your own. So there's kind of a responsibility comes with that. And then that wampum belt, one of the belts in the Great Law talks about looking at the land as one dish we all share from. And there's nothing that would draw blood in there, the sharp instrument removed. So all have a right to that dish and the contents of it. And nobody claims ownership of it. So in order to do that, we have to follow rules, similar rules of harvesting things, and whether it's hunting and fishing, you don't take more than you need and things like that. It's all interwoven in that great law of peace about, I guess, our responsibilities as human beings to Mother Earth and to environment, to the Creator, and to one another, of course, family, clans, and to men and women. That balance and all that is all interwoven in there. So when there's an imbalance like that, it disrupts that area of the land. And that's what we've been really wrestling with, like generations now, that imbalance of things. So the great law tells us how to be in balance, and to have that balance with that good mind and peace, and the strength that comes with it.
So, what is a teaching from the Great Law that everyone can learn from?
I would say to having that good mind is the foremost thing. And the way I look at that is that it's upon each individual to give that strength. So having, and you can say, hey, we have good mind. Gatnigohiyo is what the Creator gave us. But it's actually more like a discipline, say like meditation, yoga, or anything like that. Gatnigohiyo is a discipline you have to practice. And you've got to discipline yourself. And it takes constant. It's not just 9 till 10 in the morning or 7 till 8 a.m. It's all day. It's ongoing. So mastering that good mind is what our ancestors done, because it means more than just that good mind. It means about how you conduct things and how you conduct yourself, and monitoring your thoughts and your thought process, and having a expand your mind to see other perspectives and to see things before you make your mind up. and ask questions and wait for answers. And so the great law tells us to use to broaden our horizons before we make a decision. And that's something I think we all could use help is how do we make uh, a good sound decision that's well thought out. That's not an easy thing that just happens. It takes effort and conscious effort to nurture your mind. So when the messenger come, he said the strongest weapon is your mind. It's stronger than any weapon. So using that good mind and mastering that and discipline yourself is something we all have to take responsibility for out of the great law. And that's what will give us peace and strength. So it's like we all should be practicing the discipline of good mind instead of yoga. And well, I mean, yoga and meditation are good too, but this is our practice as disciplining ourselves with that good mindedness. And that's respect. That's foremost. So if you conduct yourself with respect, then it's respect that you usually receive. But if you don't show respect for yourself, then how are others going to respect you? So that's just some teachings about the great law and the good mind and the importance of having respect and to conduct yourself with that good mind and respect and peace. Um, we all have issues that we have to deal with time to time, and there's a good minded way, respectful way, and a caring and a peaceful way to get through anything. And that's what will keep our strength. That's some lessons that I learned in the great law.
How important are these teachings to the environment?
Well, I think that we really don't have as good of an understanding about power and energy as our ancestors had. So the belief that I heard from elders is that if we're all on the same page on any given topic, it's good for us and it's good for Mother Earth. But if we have our different agendas and we're not on the same page, it's not as strong and it's weakening Mother Earth because Mother Earth looks after us and we look after her. So if it's only a part effort or it's less than full effort, then it's not quite reaching, yeah, like the full power and the benefit of Mother Earth. So uh, even ceremonies, go to ceremonies, you can tell when people are right into it and their heart and mind are there for the creator and for whatever the topic is. Like we're in a season now where we're going to be planting soon. Some have had thunder dance and things like that. Give thanks for those thunders. All of those ceremonies tie us in with our environmental responsibilities. So having them ceremonies is also part of our taking care of Mother Earth and the environment. So that's some of the things there that come to mind off of the top of my head about it and the importance of learning, I guess, like and discipline yourself.
What message do you have for the youth today and the future generations?
Swajago. That means try your best. And I think it is really true that knowledge is power. Do your best to start learning and do the learning with a good mind. We still have preserved quite a bit of our sanyong or our ways of being, and be careful with what you're reading because the elders that I sat with, they say sometimes those people come researching and wanting stories of our people or knowledge. They were pestering those ones who were busy with our people, and they would just tell them anything to get them out of there. My grandfather was one of them. So I would just say there's nothing wrong with reading things, and I mean that's kind of all we have for the most part in our villages. But there are still some elders that have passed down that knowledge. So you got to try bridge that gap of what you're reading and what's been written about our past and our people and our ways of things, prophecy, all that. But you got to balance that with the practicing knowledge that is still existing. So um, do your best to learn. And my aunt told me that was my elder kind of that guided me in my teenage years. She says, you start now. It's a good time now to start learning. And that's going to carry you the rest of your way if you do it right. You'll be learning right till your last day on earth. and that's going to help you to find balance and harmony in the world. And that's what the whole world needs. So, swajago, that means try your best. That's all. And you got to understand our history a little bit because we've inherited quite a messed up situation sometimes, and it's from the experience our people went through. The boarding school experience really turned our world upside down. Where I'm from, they call it a residential school. It was an attempt to get rid of us. So our families are struggling from the side effects of that. So when you get older, you'll understand that a little more, I imagine. Like try to understand that, and you'll see, but try not to get mad about it because it can make you mad too. Be thankful that we still have people that are carrying on these traditions and languages, and you can still learn. Nearly every village has language programs or people that are more than willing to help you to learn something. Or nowadays you got apps for your phone and things like that. You can watch videos of people learning and working with skits and things like that, and you can even watch movies a little bit in the language. So make language important part of your journey, and the knowledge that is embedded in it will help you.
So I just wanted to say Nyawa for taking the time out of your busy day and schedule to be able to let me interview you.
Yeah.
The effects that climate change has on the water is felt through rising sea levels, water scarcity, droughts, extreme weather events, and flash floods, which in many cases has a negative impact on the environment. Floods and extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, have the possibility to disrupt the integrity of water sources by washing in debris, pollutants, agricultural chemicals, and untreated sewage. This reduces water quality for both humans and animals. Globally, the amount of clean fresh water that's safe for human use is down to 0.5%, meaning that water scarcity is a crisis for most of the Earth's population. Rising temperatures also means that in many places, water sources are drying up, which affects things like the local agriculture, as well as the reliability of water for human consumption, meaning that many only have access to little amounts of water, and in most cases, the water they have access to may not be the cleanest. Water is an important necessity for all life on Earth. The waters have the responsibility to help sustain living beings on Earth and to help cleanse and purify the Earth. For us as human beings, it's important for us to take care of the Earth, which also includes taking care of the waters. Since the waters continue to fulfill their responsibilities in sustaining us, it's our job to protect and maintain our waters. To find out when new episodes are released, follow Haudenosaunee Environmental Task Force on Instagram and Facebook, and Voices for the Earth on Instagram. I would also like to say Nyawa to Aaron Printon for the music. Nyawa for listening.